hablando del cambio climático, en un reciente informe de Naciones Unidas del panel de cambio climático, dicen barbaridades del siguiente calibre. La concentración de CO2 en la atmósfera en la época preindustrial, hablamos siglo XIX, era 1,5%. Todavía ahora no hemos superado el 1,5% con toda la industrialización del mundo entero. Dicen las cabezas de Naciones Unidas que están en el panel de cambio climático, donde todos los estudios que han hecho, sin excepción, han sido un fraude, una falsedad, no tienen ninguna credibilidad. Dicen, bueno, pues para evitar llegar al 3%, fíjense lo que dicen. Vamos a retirar, habría que retirar, tendríamos que retirar todo el CO2 de la atmósfera. Y uno dice, ¿pero no habrá ningún biólogo en el panel de cambio climático? Resulta que la vida en el planeta es posible, gracias al agua, al CO2 y a los fotones que nos envía el Sol, porque con eso se realiza la fotosíntesis, que es la generación de las biomasas del planeta y que constituye la alimentación primaria de todos los seres humanos. En el mismo informe dicen, vamos a aumentar la repoblación forestal. Oiga, sin CO2, ni una hoja.
At the moment, there is absolutely not one single physical scientific evidence, I repeat, not one single physical scientific evidence that shows that carbon dioxide emitted by human beings has any effect whatsoever on the temperature of our Earth. Not one proof of evidence. Well, the real agenda is, in fact, to be able to find a culprit. And the culprit is carbon dioxide. And if you have a culprit, you, of course, have someone behind it who's the faulty of that. So the human being is, in fact, the guy who generates this noxious, nasty chemical. This is almost like a religion, you know. You have the original sin. The original sin is carbon dioxide. The one who committed is the human being. So we all have to repent. This is basically the message which is given there. It's a new religion going on. This, and we call it climatism around here. And that new religion is there to make sure that people, in fact, will pay for that. You will pay for carbon dioxide. You will pay for heating your home. You will pay for everything that touches far or close.
It's about the problem of energy and climate policies, but also about decarbonization. So there's a link between decarbonization and the cost of energy and the consequences of high energy. How did that happen in Australia?
Well, I posed the question a couple of times. Can you please show me that human emissions of carbon dioxide drive global warming? Because the whole of the energy policy is based on emissions. And no one has yet shown that human emissions of carbon dioxide drive global warming. And if they did, they'd also have to show that the natural emissions, and that's 97% of the total, don't drive global warming. Then I look back in time through my geological eyes and look at times in the past when we had very high carbon dioxide contents of the atmosphere, up to hundreds of times higher than now, and we see that we didn't have runaway global warming. Of course we had climate change, it's quite natural, it happens all the time, but what we did have is 6 major ice ages. And there is no correlation over geological time between carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and temperature. In fact, it is the past that shows us that carbon dioxide does not drive global warming. So I argue in this book that we have a fundamental fallacy, and that's emissions, that emissions do not drive global warming. And from that, we've then developed these slice and dice wind turbines that are massively disfiguring to the countryside, that they create massive amounts of pollution. The amount of energy to make them is more than they'll ever create. The amount of carbon dioxide emitting them is more than they'll ever save. These things have a short life, and wind turbines don't run on wind, they run on subsidies. And I do the same with solar, show exactly the same with solar, that it's a net deficit. So
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Panelists, let me just go right down the line real fast. What percent of our atmosphere is CO2? Take your best guess. You don't have to be accurate. All down the line.
Repeat that question.
What percent of our atmosphere is CO2, carbon dioxide? Wild guess. It's okay.
I'll buy 5%.
5?
I'll just follow you then.
We'll go 7. That's my favorite number.
I'll see there 5 and suggest that we know that transportation causes 49% of CO2. So that's why we're all working on energy transition.
All right. So what number do you think it is?
5.
5? How about you? I didn't hear you, Mr. Dreyer.
7.
7. Did you have one, Mr. Boyd?
So we got a 5.7,
This price is right.
8. I'm going to hit the high end.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, and I don't mean to I put you on ice. I ask a lot of people that because all we hear is climate change, CO2, CO2. I heard a couple of you on the panel saying you're looking to change your vehicles to electric, even though we don't have the electric grid. And me as a farmer, I wouldn't be real happy about running out and replacing $300,000, $500,000, $1 million pieces of equipment because someone wants it to be electric. The answer is 0.04%, not 1%, not a half of a percent. It's 0.04%. And it's gone up from 0.03 over the last couple decades. This is what we're being all contorted into doing, is this tiny change in CO2. If we get below 0.02, plant life starts dying off.